Morning, everyone. How we doing today? June 14th, Sunday, June 14th. And first and foremost, I want to thank you. Thank you again for the support of the channel, all the thumbs up, comments, all of those things. We did a live Q&A session yesterday to thank my subscribers and viewers for watching. I think I'm going to set a goal starting today. If we average 100 thumbs up, likes, whatever you want to call it, on my daily financial news between Sunday and Friday, I will go ahead and do another live stream Saturday. What would that be? The 20th at 8 a.m. Pacific. Got a lot of great questions. We went through each and every question that you all sent in early, so we did that, and then we got through about another 8 or 9 questions. I did only have an hour, so we only went about 58 minutes because I had to make sure I get on my Facebook Live with my students at 9. But here's the deal. If you start hitting thumbs up on my daily financial news and we average 100 for the week or for 6 days, I will go ahead and do another live stream. And if we don't, then I will use that hour on Saturday for something else. So again, thank you very much. Let's see if we can't get 100 thumbs up on each of the next 6 daily financial news. So this morning, a lot of stuff going on. It's Sunday. We're getting ready for the week. Watch Saturday's live stream for kind of the big deals of the week. We went through Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, the kind of things to look for. What I found this morning is it looks like Airbnb and New York City, so NYC, have come to an agreement on a lawsuit that was filed way back in 2018. Basically, Airbnb has agreed to share names, phone numbers, and emails of guests. They have also agreed to pay state and use tax, and then finally pay city and state nightly fees. This still needs to be ratified in the city council, which I could not imagine they wouldn't, given they need money. And it will take in effect 180 days later. So really, this is more of a 2021 kind of fix. But I didn't even know this was going on. Just more kind of local governments being anti-Airbnb. We've seen that spring up a lot over the last 6 to 9 months. My guess is Airbnb is doing everything they possibly can to get ready to go public, and they don't want to have a huge hole of New York City not being served by the platform. So they were in a spot where they had to do something to make their IPO look a little better, right? Can't really go public and say, oh, we serve everybody except NYC. So that's what I'm guessing happened. Next thing I've noticed is it looks like Thor Industries, again, not someone I normally follow, but they are the largest producer of RVs, and they have seen a skyrocket in the demand for recreational vehicles, $100,000 and above. Looked at some of the pictures, and man, some of these things look to be like rolling mansions. Pretty crazy what you can get in an RV these days. But they're actually commenting, it's a lot of work from home folks. A lot of folks now, if they're being told they can work from home, they're looking for vehicles that they can essentially travel the country and yet still work. I mean, can you imagine doing a summer with your kids still working? I don't know, 6 to 2, 6 to 3, or whatever you want to call it, and then having the rest of the day with your kids just checking out the great US of A. That sounds like a lot of fun to me. Also, it sounds like a lot of work, but still, let's call that fun. So again, it's interesting to see what this health event has done. Again, this is probably the mother of all stimulus for RVs, right? Don't want to get on an international plane. You can work from home. Let's go get an RV, honey, and see what we can see in this great United States. Next up, lots and lots of talk about rent cancellations in city and municipalities kind of going that direction. I don't know what's going on because we do have in the United States Constitution an obligation of contracts Again, I am not a lawyer. I got this right off of Wikipedia. It states that no state may pass a law impairing obligations of contracts. And a lease is a contract. So I don't know what these municipalities and cities like Ithaca, New York, who claims to be the first city going for rent cancellation, is thinking. Does Ithaca, New York think they can go against the US Constitution? I am hoping, lawyers and legal scholars step up and sue where appropriate. I have heard of some already in California, LA specifically, but enough's enough, right? We need to work it out. We need to protect people, all that good stuff, but stop pushing obligations from one person to another, especially where there's a contract involved. Unless you just want to rip up the whole Constitution for some reason. It seems to have worked for us for this long. So I don't see that happening. But again, obligation of contracts, look it up. It's in the Constitution. And, we will see where we go from there. Next up, it looks like Brooks Brothers is in bankruptcy. And it looks like it may be bought by Authentic Brands, which we talked about, I think, Friday. They basically are somebody who's buying retailers out of bankruptcy. Like Barney's and Forever 21. Looks like they are looking to partner with Simon Properties to possibly, Authentic Brands and Simon Properties looking to possibly buy Brooks Brothers. They have partnered before, and they bought Forever 21 together. So pretty interesting to see that Simon Properties is expanding out of just being malls and now kind of owning brands. This got me thinking about Gary Vee. If you've been following Gary Vee for as long as I have, Gary Vaynerchuk, you know that he's often talked about buying brands that are in distress. He's given lots of examples about brands that he was fond of as a kid. And I wonder what he's going to be buying. I think there's a lot of brands that are going to be hurt that he could pick up for pennies on the dollar. So I wonder if he's going to get his checkbook out in the next 12 months and buy, a brand, Bubblicious or something very iconic from the 80s or 90s. But again, Gary Vee, I would hope you step up and buy something, and then you take your social media prowess and really show us all what is possible. So I look forward to watching you do what you do. Next up, I got some reports on the Fed, right? They had the Fed meeting Tuesday, Wednesday. It looks like they have a pretty wide expectations around 3 key charts. I'm going to go through each of them over the next 3 years. So 2020, 21, and 22. I'm going to give you the high and the low mark. And it just really goes to show you how much uncertainty there is in the world. So let's go through the GDP, right? Which is one that we're going to hear a lot of here recently because Q2's GDP is going to be the worst ever. And that will be coming soon. But 2020, I guess the best mark is a negative 4.2. So everybody's expecting a weak 2020. 2021, the high mark is 7%, which would be a record on records. And then 2022 high mark is 6%, right? So those are the high marks. Now, when you look at the Fed's expectations on the low end for 2020 is negative 10, right? So that's a 6% swing. 2021 is a negative 1%. So that would basically be a continuation of the recession. And then 2022 low is 2%. So the closest agreement they have is actually as far out as 2022. That's only about a 4% spread. The biggest delta is actually next year, which is over 8%. So there's basically disagreement on the Fed whether this will be a short recession or a long recession. And that's important for us to follow because again, the Fed is impacting all asset prices today. Let's just be real. The stock market is not where it is today without the Fed. So let's talk about jobless rates. Again, the Fed really can't impact the job market directly, right? But here's what we got. They got the high end at 14% for 2021, which would be very painful. The high end for 2022 is 12%. Again, not good. Or that's 21, sorry, 2021, 12%. And then in 2022 at 8%. That's really not good. That's that's like 2 years of pain if that comes to be. We're feeling that one if those numbers are right. But let's go to the other side. There's the low end is 7%, which would be a snapback and a half, right? If we got to a 7% unemployment rate by the end of 2020, first off, I'd be shocked, but that's the low end of their estimate. This one really gets me. 2021, someone actually in the Fed thinks we could get to 4.5% unemployment. Well, that would be amazing. That would be absolutely amazing. I hope it happens. Let's be clear. I hope it happens. I don't see it happening, but I certainly can hope it happens. And then the low end for 2022 is 4%. So again, the biggest spread is next year. And again, it goes back to, are we going to have a short or a long-term recession? And then the last one, just because this is in the Fed mandate, is inflation. It's interesting that both the high and the low end of inflation sees what's going on. Yeah, I can find the article where this came from. Sure. Inflation is 1.2 on the high end for 2020. 2% is the high end for 2021. And 2.2 is the high end for 2022. On the low end, it's 0.5, 1.1, and then 1.4. Of all the numbers, I think the inflation number is the one that I have least faith in. I think the Fed has a biases because they've never seen inflation, that their numbers are I think they're low. I think 2020 is fine because I think deflation has kind of worked its way into the second half of the year. But I don't think they're counting inflation enough. I don't think they're giving inflation the respect enough. I mean, all the money they pumped in. So that is one that I think they're off on, just because they've never seen it, right? Or the people that are in charge now have never seen inflation. So we'll see. Next up, lots of articles from Zillow and Redfin over the weekend talking about the mother of all bidding wars was the title that caught my attention the most. And this is basically pointing to the fact that we have no supply, right? Very little supply, record low supply. And we have a rapid rise in people seeking the suburbs, right? Get out of the cities, go to the suburbs. We have millennials getting out of Class A apartments and buying their first homes. So we are seeing amazing demand. And what did I see? Redfin CEO says in the last 2 months, they've seen 164% increase in demand for the suburbs. So lots of stuff going on there. Next up, Brian Lebo has posted his Las Vegas summary yesterday, which I have watched. Just real quick, transactions were down 50%. Median price went up 2%. Really, that's because statistics lie, and the median is the middle number. So what you really saw is the low end of the market was hit the most. So you take off 20 or 30% of the low end, it just naturally moves the median, because it's the middle number, up. Because again, who was hurt the most by this? It was the low end, and the high end market was okay. Current inventory I thought was interesting. It went up 55 homes from last month, which is nothing. It's not even 1%. So it is interesting to watch. And then lastly, I don't know if you all saw this, but I saw an Instagram post from Grant Cardone saying, "Hey suckers, I sent out $6.3 million in distributions to his investors." He was clearly taking shots at all the haters that have done videos on him going bankrupt here recently. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what 6.3 million distributions means. I don't know if every apartment got it. I don't know where it should have been. I don't know if it's back. I mean, there's all kinds of unknown information in that. But hey, I don't know about other syndicators. I haven't heard about any other syndicators sending out distributions. A lot of them seem to be still creating reserves. But, hey, if you happen to be a Cardone investor, hopefully you got a little bit of money. So, and again, I do not know what Cardone usually sends out. I don't know if it's made up the last 2 months. I know no details. I have No interest. I'm not an investor. I just thought it was interesting he sent it out. Most importantly, because I'm hearing other syndicators still not sending distributions. So it is a very interesting ball game to watch. But in the end, again, I've interviewed some investors in Cardone. What is it called? Cardone Capital, and they were not happy the last couple of months, rightly so. But hopefully they got some money today, and I've already reached out to them to see if they're getting any money, because hopefully they are. That's what you would expect. All right, everybody, have a wonderful day. It's Sunday, so the next thing I'm going to do is prepare my goals of the week and see how I did. Take care. Bye.